Hello, my third grade friends. It's good to see you. Some of you did this lesson with me live. Some of you are now obviously watching the recording. It is called a seasonal tree. We are going to explore the different times of the year and how it affects a deciduous tree through our art. So stay tuned. You're going to need paper, pencil, and some markers. And get ready to do some positive and negative space, just like we did when we created our other trees. So boys and girls, before we start our seasonal tree, we are going to fold our paper. This is just going to help us figure out quadrants or 4 separate places, one for each of the seasons. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold it like a hot dog fold. It's long and tall. Then we're going to do a hamburger fold, just like so. And then when you open it up, what you have here is your paper is divided into 4 separate quadrants. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each one of these fourths or rectangles will represent a different season of the year in the life of this deciduous tree, because deciduous trees, they do not stay the same all year long like an evergreen. They are changing. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want you to do, because a lot of you have experience with trees, we're going to start at the top. I'm going to start up on that fold line, and I'm going to come down my page the whole way, and I'm slowly moving my line closer to the edge or a little bit away from that center line, because I want to create a trunk, and the trunk needs to be wider at the bottom and thinner at the top. So now I'm going to do it on the other side. So there's the top of my tree, and very slowly, very gently, I'm moving away from that center line, and I'm creating my trunk. Okay, so many of you know that after we have established the trunk, then we need to give it branches. Now, of course, what grows off trunk? Large branches. So I'm going to add large branches. They can have some fun curves, they can have some bumps and jumps, and I want you to make sure you have some large branches in each of these 4 spaces or quadrants. Now remember, your branch is widest where it attaches to the trunk and thinnest away from the trunk. So we need to make sure we give it some character too. We don't want all our tree branches to look the same. Some of them are going to have, like I said, bumps and fun curves and zigzags in them. And here we go. There's another large branch. Now what comes off the large branch, my friends? Medium-sized branches. So we're going to have medium branches. And remember, we want medium-sized branches in every quadrant or every section that we have folded. And you can have more than one medium branch coming off from each large one, that's for sure. These trees, especially healthy, full-grown deciduous trees, have several branches, lots and lots, and they overlap. So it's okay to have some that go off the page and overlap with other branches. Okay, and then of course your medium-sized branches have your small branches that are coming off from them, because we want to make it a healthy tree. Once I have drawn some branches, then I need to consider what sort of changes do we have every year at certain times of the year. So I'm just going to pick one of the 4 spaces, and I'm going to pick a season. I'm going to say spring. What does a deciduous tree tend to look like, and what's happening to it in the spring? Well, in the spring, that's when new life is starting. So we're getting little buds. The leaves haven't fully matured yet, or the leaves, you know, haven't fully come out, but you'll see little buds of them coming out, and it's a green color because it's growing. So I might have some buds. They're little, they're new growth, and I want to stick to this section. We're not going down all the way because this is a whole other season. Here's the line where I cut it off. So, oops, I'm gonna have to erase that guy. There we go. Also, depending on what kind of deciduous tree, like if it's an apple or a cherry tree, you know, a fruit producing one, think of when you're driving down Elk Lake, you see beautiful blossoms in the spring. They are so beautiful that the trees all have that pink or white color to them. And I can put some of the flowers out, you know, in the air. They don't have to all be attached to a branch because we're creating a time of year, like a mood, not necessarily, doesn't have to be perfectly realistic. So some beautiful season happening here. Our tree is coming to life. Things are starting to wake up and happen. So you can continue doing that. Now, as I move on to the next season, what happens after spring? Summer, of course. Summer is probably when the tree is at its fullest. It has the most leaves it will have all year. It has the thickest green. So I am going to fill this area in as much as I can with leaves because most of your healthy deciduous trees, this time of year, you can't even see all of the branches because the tree is just thick with beautiful foliage or leaves. Remember, this line is your cutoff, so maybe the top of this branch will have beautiful green leaves, but the other side of it, it will be a whole different season. So we have to keep that in mind. And it's okay for the leaves to be in what we call the negative spaces. They don't all have to be attached to a branch. So spring, summer, and then of course, fall. Fall is when, or autumn is the proper name, the tree will start to shed its leaves. They turn those beautiful, vibrant colors that we have of yellows and oranges and reds, sometimes brown. So the leaves, some of them might still be on the tree, but they eventually will fall, and our ground will be thick with leaves, beautiful leaves that have shed. And I want to make sure I stop on this line because this is the separation between fall and our next season. So it gets pretty thick with leaves at my house. I don't know about you, but I did a lot of raking this fall. So the last season, we're approaching it as we speak, winter. Our tree is usually bare. And what is that called when things are just sleeping? They're not dead. They might look like it. That is called hibernation. Just like many animals around here, our trees, our deciduous trees go into a hibernation mode. So you're not gonna see leaves or blossoms or anything, but I might have some snow that has accumulated on my beautiful branches because that we have lots of here, okay? I can even do some fun little snowflakes coming down. And if it's snowed enough, we will have some on the ground as well. And our poor tree is resting, sleeping getting ready. Okay, so we have our spring, our summer, our fall, our winter. So now that I have drawn it with pencil, it is time to select the proper colors. Now you can color your tree brown if you like. You know, that is a very traditional thing to do. But if I want to make my tree a different color, maybe I want it green, maybe I want it blue, that's allowed also. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the coloring process. I also don't forget to color the leaves in, the beautiful blossoms or buds, our little snowflakes, and then don't neglect the background. We talked about this. Negative space is just as important in many cases as positive space. So don't forget to do your best to fill in our negative spaces as well. Now, some of you have heard this lesson before about the tip of your marker. I'm going to go over it again anyways because it's important. A conical tip or a cone-tipped marker is shaped like a cone. It has a point. So the end of it makes these beautiful thin lines. When I lay it on its side, it makes these lovely, thick, dark lines. Now, you'll notice I'm doing mine slowly. When I tend to do this, I tend to get an uneven color and I get a lot of white spaces. Not to mention it's pretty hard to have a nice clean edge on my tree. So I want you to take your time. Slow and steady wins the race. Okay? If I take my time, not only does my marker work better, because that's how it's designed. See, I can get better ink coming out of it when I slow down because my marker can keep up. But if I'm scribbling, it acts like it's running out of ink because you're going too fast. Also, what's great about these is on my side, this marker can take care of a large portion of the branch and it's less work for me. I also like how when I do these next to each other, it kind of gives a nice wood grain to it. So I can add texture without really having to work very hard. Here I have colored in all 4 quadrants of my seasons. I have my spring flowers and the blooming and growing of new leaves. I have my summer when the tree is at its thickest and fullest, the fall colors, and the winter. Notice I did not neglect my backgrounds because the background is, like we talked about, the negative spaces. Those are just as important as the positive spaces when we want to make a nice, successful, impactful type painting. So here we have it, my friends. I used a little black to do some outlining and add some texture, and that is our seasonal tree. So boys and girls, save this please. Put your name on the back of it. You can either bring it into school to show it to me, or you can take a picture of it and send it to my email address, which is lhockin@erschools.com. I will put that information at the end of this video. So I hope you enjoyed our seasonal tree. Until next time, thanks for coming. At Home with Mrs. Hockin.